The laughter echoed through the marble halls of Hamilton Innovations, sounding like broken glass. Each burst cut deeper into Mia Carter's chest as she stood frozen outside the boardroom door. She had come to deliver the quarterly reports that Noah Hamilton had requested, but now she wished she'd never left her desk on the 30th floor. "Come on, Noah, you can't be serious about bringing your assistant to the charity gala," sneered Derek Adams, heir to a hotel empire. "She's so plain and dull. She probably shops at discount stores and has never stepped inside a real restaurant." Mia's hand trembled on the folder with the reports. Through the crack in the door she saw her boss, Noah Hamilton, leaning back in his leather chair. His perfectly styled dark hair caught the afternoon sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. He was surrounded by his usual circle of wealthy friends, using his office like their private lounge. "I mean, what would she even wear?" mocked Stella Brown, the daughter of a media mogul who'd been flirty with Noah. "Does she even own a dress over $50? The photographers will have a field day. Poor little assistant trying to play elite." Noah's blue eyes sparkled with cruel amusement. "You know what? They're right. It would be hilarious to see her try to fit in with our crowd. Imagine her face when she realizes she doesn't belong." "Do it," urged Caleb Reed, whose family owned half the city's real estate. "Invite her as your date. It'll be the joke of the century. We'll all watch her stumble around in cheap shoes, probably spilling wine on herself." Noah stood and adjusted his tailored suit. "Fine. I'll invite Mia Carter to be my date at the Henderson Gala. But we all know how this ends. She'll make some excuse about being sick or washing her hair. And if she actually shows, Chelsea? If she shows, we'll enjoy watching her realize she's totally out of her league," Chelsea finished, her voice dripping with anticipation. "It'll teach her to know her place," Noah said, coldly calculating. The room erupted in laughter. Mia felt her face burn with humiliation. She'd worked here 2 years, 12-hour days managing his schedule, running his affairs, making his life easier. She had always been professional, efficient, respectful. She believed that beneath Noah's arrogance there might be decency. Now she knew, to him and his wealthy friends she was just entertainment. A poor girl from the wrong side of town who dared to step into their shining tower. "Should we bet on whether she shows?" Derek asked, pulling out his phone. "I've got 1,000 on her making an excuse." "Make it 5, Chelsea said. "There's no way she has the guts to walk into that ballroom." Mia's heart pounded. She wanted to run back to her desk, grab her purse and never return. She wanted to vanish. But a stubborn pride, one she'd inherited from her grandmother, who cleaned houses to put food on the table, made her stand straighter. She knocked on the door. "Come in," Noah called, voice switching back to professional. Mia entered, masking the fire in her chest. She wore her usual office outfit, a navy blouse, black skirt, her natural hair pulled into a neat bun, minimal makeup highlighting her warm brown skin. She wasn't glamorous like the women in the room, but she was intelligent, hardworking, and deserving of respect. "The quarterly reports you requested, Mr. Hamilton," she said quietly, setting the folder down. Her voice didn't waver. Noah looked at her with those calculating blue eyes, and she saw the wheels turning in his head. "Actually, Mia, I have a request." The room fell silent. Stella, Derek, Caleb leaned forward, barely hiding their excitement. "The Henderson Foundation Gala is this Saturday night," Noah continued, casual as weather. "Important for the company image. I need a date. Would you accompany me?" Blood drained from Mia's face. She looked around at their smirks, then back at him. This was a setup. A cruel on-camera moment. Every instinct told her to decline and preserve the dignity she had left. But she thought of her mother lying in a hospital bed, fighting cancer, urging her, "Never let anyone make you feel small." She thought of her grandmother's words, "You are as good as anyone else. Don't forget that." "I would be honored to attend with you, Mr. Hamilton," she said, voice clear and strong. "What time shall I be ready?" Noah's surprise turned into that cruel smile again. "The car picks you up at 7. Black tie, very formal, and exclusive. Senators, movie stars, wealthiest families in the country." "I understand," Mia answered calmly. "Anything else today?" "No, that's all. You're free to go." Mia nodded, turned and left, feeling their stares follow her as the door shut behind. Immediately, laughter and chatter exploded again outside. "Yes. This is going to be amazing. Wait until you see what she shows." Back at her desk, Mia sat down on shaky legs. She stared at her screen, the numbers blurring as tears threatened. She'd agreed to attend a charity event with a man who saw her as a sideshow. She had 3 days to figure out how to walk into a room full of millionaires and billionaires without becoming a punchline. but with fear and doubt that stubborn pride burned brighter. Noah Hamilton and his friends expected her to fail. They counted on her being a joke. Well, she would prove them wrong. They underestimated her. The game was on. Mia's hands shook as she unlocked the door to her tiny apartment in Southbridge, a 25-minute subway ride from Midtown. The ride gave her just enough time to realize the full weight of what she had agreed to. She dropped her purse on the second-hand couch and collapsed into it, finally letting the tears fall. Humiliation burned her chest like acid. For 2 years she had kept things professional with Noah, managing his calendar, business meetings, calls, and endless demands. And yes, she'd had a small crush on him. It was hard not to. There were moments she saw glimpses of warmth, when he worked late on a project he believed in, or when he quietly made donations without ever announcing them. She had convinced herself there might be a good man beneath all the money and arrogance. She was wrong. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from her best friend, Layla. "How was work? You seem stressed this morning." Mia stared at the message for a while, then hit the call button. Layla answered immediately. "Girl, what's wrong? You sound like you've been crying." "Layla, I need to tell you something. And you're going to think I've completely lost it. Try me." Mia took a deep breath and explained everything, overhearing the cruel conversation, the fake invitation, and her decision to say yes anyway. There was silence. "Mia Carter, please tell me you did not just agree to be someone's pity date after hearing them mock you like that. I know how it sounds, but..." "No, but... that man just showed you exactly who he is. Why would you walk into that kind of humiliation?" Mia wiped her eyes and stood, pacing her living room. "Because I'm tired, Layla. Tired of being invisible. Tired of being the girl who gets overlooked, treated like I don't matter because I don't have money. I want to prove that I belong." "So what? You're going to show up in your office clothes and hope they notice your potential?" "No," Mia's voice grew firmer. "I'm going to show up looking absolutely incredible. And I'm going to hold my head high the entire time. I want to prove, to myself, that I belong in that room just as much as they do." Layla sighed. "Okay, I hear you. But girl, do you have any idea how expensive it is to look like belonging? We're talking thousands. Dress, jewelry, hair, makeup. I have some money saved." Mia walked into her bedroom and pulled out a small lockbox from under her bed. It held the emergency fund she'd built over 3 years, meant for her mom's medical bills or serious unexpected expenses. "I've got about $1,500. That's not enough for her." "Then I'll make it enough." There was a pause. Then Layla said, "You're really serious?" "Dead serious. I need your help. You work in fashion. You know how this world works. Help me become someone who looks like she belongs, even if it's just for one night." Layla's tone shifted. "All right. No half measures. If you're doing this, we're doing it properly. Meet me tomorrow after work. We're going shopping. I'm calling in favors." After the call, Mia sat quietly on her bed, surrounded by the modest comforts she had built. Thrifted furniture, a few green plants, framed photos of her family. Her mother in her nurse's scrubs. Her grandmother in her best Sunday hat. Cousins who had fought their way through hard lives to create better futures. She thought of her mother now, undergoing chemotherapy at Southbridge Medical Center. Carmen Carter had spent 30 years working double shifts as a nurse, raising Mia alone. She had never made her feel like a burden. Never complained. Always taught her that success wasn't measured by how much you earned, but by how many lives you helped. Respect, her mom would always say, comes from how you carry yourself, not from your paycheck. But Mia wasn't feeling respected. She felt insulted, humiliated, and small. And it wasn't right. She opened her laptop and began researching the Henderson Foundation gala. The photos from past years were intimidating. Women in custom gowns. Men in tuxedos. Glittering jewelry. Faces Mia recognized from magazines and business news. Still, as she scrolled, she noticed something else. They all looked the same. The same hair. Same flawless skin. Same rehearsed smiles. Like they were playing characters. Maybe Mia thought that was the trick. Maybe she didn't have to become one of them. Maybe she just had to play the part better than anyone else. Her phone rang. Caller ID, Mom. Mom. How are you feeling? Better, baby. That new medication is helping. How was work? Mia hesitated. Her mom didn't need any more stress. It was interesting. I might be attending a special event this weekend. Oh, what kind? A charity gala. For work. That sounds amazing. You've worked hard. I'm proud of you. Mia smiled, but her chest ached. Mom, do you remember what Grandma used to say about walking tall? Her mother's voice softened. She used to say, nobody can make you feel small without your permission. Why are you thinking about that? No reason, Mia whispered. I love you. Get some rest. After hanging up, Mia made a decision. She was going to that gala. She wouldn't just show up, she would arrive. She opened her notebook and began a list. What to wear, what to say, how to act. This wasn't just about an outfit. It was about preparation. It was about walking into that room as the woman they never saw coming. It was about dignity, pride, and proving that they had underestimated the wrong girl. The game had started. And Mia Carter was going to win. 3 days later, Mia stood in front of a full-length mirror in a small boutique in Park Slope, barely recognizing the woman staring back. Girl, I'm about to cry, Layla said, her voice thick with emotion. You look stunning. The dress was deep emerald silk, sleek, elegant, and breathtaking. It hugged Mia's curves and flowed behind her in a graceful train. Layla had found it at a high-end consignment store on the Upper East Side. Originally priced at $3,000, it had been worn once by a socialite and donated for the tax write-off. The rich color brought out the warm undertones in Mia's brown skin and made her dark eyes sparkle like gems. You sure about these heels? Mia asked, wobbling slightly in the 4-inch stilettos. Trust me, Layla said, crouching to adjust the straps. Heels are just like riding a bike. Once you get the rhythm, you'll glide. Remember, small steps, weight on your toes, core engaged. The last few days had been a whirlwind. Layla had pulled every favor she could, calling in a hairstylist who specialized in natural textures, a makeup artist who knew how to work with brown skin, and even borrowing jewelry from a friend who worked in luxury retail. They hadn't tried to hide Mia's natural beauty. Instead, they enhanced it. Her hair was swept into an elegant updo that showed off her neck and cheekbones. Her makeup was bold but balanced, dramatic eyes, glowing skin, and lips colored in a rich, subtle tone. She looked like she belonged in a Vogue spread. Okay, Layla said, pulling out her phone. Let's walk the walk one more time. Mia took a deep breath and crossed the boutique slowly, shoulders back, chin up. Each step made the silk dress whisper around her ankles. Perfect, Layla said, clapping. Now, conversation topics. Hit me. They had practiced everything, current events, charity causes, etiquette, even ballroom behavior. Mia had done hours of research on the Henderson Foundation. The foundation focuses on educational access for low-income students, Mia said. They've built over 200 schools and funded thousands of scholarships. Good. And if someone asks about your background, I'm pursuing my MBA while working in corporate administration. I'm passionate about social equity and economic reform. Boom, Layla grinned. Elegant, smart, unshakable. The final touch had been the jewelry. Delicate diamond earrings and a subtle gold necklace that caught the light. Borrowed, not bought, but no one would know. Less is more, Layla reminded her. We're not here to prove anything. We're here to remind them that you belong. By Friday night, Mia felt transformed, not just on the outside but inside too. Still, as she stood in front of the mirror, she whispered, I'm scared. Layla met her eyes in the reflection. What if I mess up? What if they see through me? You listen to me, Mia Carter. You belong anywhere you choose to be. You're intelligent. You're kind. You work harder than anyone I know. And tonight? You walk into that ballroom like you own the place. Mia blinked back tears. What if Noah's friends are as cruel as they sounded? Then you handle them the same way you've handled everything else in life, with grace. And if they can't see your brilliance, that's their problem. Mia took one last long look at herself. The woman in the mirror looked elegant, confident, and worthy. Tomorrow she would step into a room full of people who thought she didn't belong. But she wasn't going there as a joke. She was going there to remind them exactly what they underestimated. I'm ready, she said. You're more than ready, Layla replied. Together they packed the dress and accessories, careful and quiet, the air full of electricity. Mia had no idea what the next night would bring. But she knew this. Whatever happened, she would face it with her head high. The joke was about to become the punchline. The black limousine pulled up in front of the grand ballroom at the Riverside Regent Hotel at exactly 7:30 p.m., fashionably late by high society standards. Mia took one last look at herself in the car's mirror. Her hands were steady despite the swarm of butterflies in her stomach. The emerald green dress shimmered in the streetlights. Her hair and makeup had held up perfectly, and the earrings sparkled just enough. You got this, girl, she whispered to herself. You belong here. The driver stepped out and opened the door for her. Mia emerged slowly, every movement poised, rehearsed. The red carpet stretched before her, and photographers turned instinctively at the sight of a new arrival. The flashes began immediately. Cameras clicked. People whispered, "Who's that?" "She's gorgeous." Mia walked the carpet with slow, graceful steps, keeping her posture tall, her eyes focused. She remembered what Layla had said, "You're not just wearing the dress, you're owning it." Inside, the hotel lobby glittered with marble and chandeliers. People stood in clusters holding champagne flutes, laughing in low, polished tones. Politicians, celebrities, business moguls, this was their world. At the ballroom entrance, a woman with a headset and clipboard greeted her. "Name, please?" "I'm with the Hamilton party," Mia said. The woman checked the list and smiled. "Of course. Mr. Hamilton is already inside." "Right this way, Miss Carter." Mia nodded and walked through the gilded doors. The ballroom was stunning, gold-trimmed walls, towering floral arrangements, a live orchestra playing soft jazz in the corner. But what made her pause was the sudden hush that rippled across the room as she entered. Conversation stalled. Heads turned. All eyes were on her. Mia felt like the world slowed down. Her heels clicked against the marble floor, echoing. She caught snippets of murmurs. "Who is she? She's breathtaking. I've never seen her before." And then she saw Noah. He was near the bar with Stella, Derek, and Caleb. His tuxedo was perfect. His posture confident. But when he saw Mia, the glass in his hand stopped halfway to his lips. His jaw dropped, literally. He wasn't the only one. Stella looked horrified. Derek's eyebrows shot up. Caleb choked on his drink. Mia kept walking, graceful and composed, each step a quiet declaration, "I belong." She was 10 feet away when Stella leaned in to whisper urgently into Noah's ear. Whatever she said made him blink and straighten. He set down his drink and walked toward Mia. They met in the center of the ballroom. "Mia," he breathed. "Is that really you?" "Good evening, Mr. Hamilton," she replied smoothly. "Thank you for inviting me. It's a lovely event." He stood there speechless. "You look," he hesitated, then said, "absolutely beautiful. I didn't even recognize you." "You did say it was formal," Mia said with a small, polite smile. "I wanted to dress appropriately." The orchestra shifted into a slow waltz. Couples began stepping onto the floor. Noah offered his arm. "Would you like to dance?" For a moment she considered saying no. She wanted to keep her distance, let him sit in the awkwardness of his shame. But she had a role to play. She was his date tonight and she intended to play it flawlessly. "I'd be delighted," she said. As they stepped onto the dance floor, she felt every eye on them. Stella's expression was pure poison. Derek looked dumbfounded. Caleb had gone quiet. Noah placed one hand on her waist, the other held hers. "Just follow my lead," he said gently. The first few steps were shaky. Mia had never danced with a partner before. But she'd watched hours of tutorials, practiced the steps in her living room, and now she moved with surprising grace. "You dance beautifully," he said. "Thank you. You're not bad either." They moved together in silence, swaying to the music. For a moment, Mia allowed herself to enjoy it. The lights, the music, the feeling of being seen, not as a joke but as a woman who belonged. But then she caught sight of Stella's furious face at the edge of the dance floor and remembered why she was here. "Your friends seem surprised to see me," Mia said casually. Noah's jaw tightened. "They're not used to seeing someone as elegant as you at these events." Diplomatic. Mia knew better. She'd heard their bets. Their cruel laughter. Their assumptions. "Well," she said softly, "I'm glad I could exceed expectations." The song ended. Noah led her off the dance floor toward his group. Mia braced herself for whatever snide remarks they had planned. But what she saw surprised her. They looked nervous. Noah cleared his throat. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet Mia Carter." Properly. Derek stepped forward first. The usual smirk was gone. "You look amazing tonight. I don't think we've been formally introduced. I'm Derek Adams." "Pleasure," Mia said, shaking his hand gracefully. Stella and Caleb followed, offering tight-lipped greetings and forced smiles. Then Stella, smiling with faux sweetness, said, "So Mia, Ryan tells us you two work together. What exactly is it that you do?" It was bait, designed to out her as just an assistant. "I work in corporate administration and business development," Mia said calmly. "It's rewarding helping to build strong, sustainable companies." Not a lie, but just vague enough to let them wonder. "Interesting," Stella said, her eyes narrowing. "And that dress, gorgeous. Is it designer?" "It is," Mia replied easily. But I believe style is more about how you carry yourself than a label. Don't you? Before Stella could fire back, a tall, gray-haired man approached. Mia recognized him instantly. Senator Ellis, a longtime advocate for education reform. Noah. Good to see you. And who is this? Senator, this is Mia Carter. Mia, meet Senator Ellis. A pleasure, Mia said, offering her hand. I follow your education policies closely. Your initiative on early childhood learning has made a measurable impact. The senator raised his eyebrows, clearly impressed. You're familiar with the legislation? Very. The long-term socioeconomic benefits of early education have been proven. Your work has been vital. They launched into a passionate discussion on education policy and community-based implementation. Noah's friend stood awkwardly to the side. Mia didn't just belong. She was dominating. As the evening progressed, Mia moved through the ballroom with poise and precision. She was no longer just surviving, she was shining. She spoke with business leaders about ethical investing, chatted with politicians about policy reform, and impressed art collectors with her knowledge of African sculpture and modern design. Every conversation reinforced what her presence declared. She belonged. Noah stayed by her side, increasingly silent, visibly impressed. He watched as she turned awkward small talk into meaningful discussions. He introduced her proudly now, not as a formality, but with something that looked a lot like admiration. Then came dinner. They were seated at a premium table near the front of the room. Mia found herself between Noah and a venture capitalist named Elliot Monroe, directly across from Stella, who had clearly maneuvered into position for her next strike. The first course arrived. Mia remembered Layla's lessons: how to hold the fork, how to cut neatly, how to dab her lips between bites. But this wasn't just about table manners. This was about surviving social landmines. Stella struck quickly. So Mia, she said, her voice just loud enough to carry across the table. Noah mentioned you're quite the reader. What books have you been into lately? It sounded harmless, but it was a trap. Stella clearly expected her to mention something pedestrian, maybe a romance novel or a celebrity memoir. Something that would mark her as unsophisticated. Mia didn't blink. I just finished rereading The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois, she said evenly. His discussion of double consciousness feels especially relevant to today's professional environments. I'm also halfway through Piketty's research on economic inequality, though I find some of his conclusions a little grim. There was silence at the table. Elliot nearly dropped his wine glass. Wait, Piketty? Capital in the 21st Century Piketty? That's the one, Mia said, turning to him. Dense but fascinating. His data on intergenerational wealth transfer raises urgent questions about long-term social mobility. Most people can't even finish the first chapter, Elliot said, clearly impressed. The conversation exploded, from economic theory to education to public-private partnerships. Mia held her own with precision and ease, making Elliot and the others hang on every word. Noah watched stunned. In 2 years of working together, he had never seen this side of her. Passionate, confident, commanding a room like she'd been doing it her whole life. The joke that had begun this night had turned into a revelation. Stella's plan had failed. Spectacularly. Instead of exposing Mia as a fraud, she had accidentally proven her to be one of the most intelligent, well-informed women in the room. Mia, you should meet my daughter, said Claudia Whitman, the wife of a major tech investor. She's studying sociology at Yale. I think you two would get along brilliantly. I'd love that, Mia said. What's her area of focus? As conversation resumed, Noah leaned in. You're full of surprises tonight, he murmured. Am I? You're brilliant. I had no idea you were so passionate about these things. In all the time we've worked together, you've never brought any of this up. Mia turned to him, calm and direct. You never asked. The words landed with weight. He didn't try to respond. Because she was right. He had never asked what she liked, what she believed, what she wanted. She had been efficient, capable, invisible, until now. Before he could say more, the auction began. The MC took the stage. If I could have your attention, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our annual charity auction. People clapped. Waiters brought more champagne. The items up for bid included rare art, luxury getaways, and celebrity experiences. Mia clapped politely but stayed quiet, until a young woman walked on stage. A scholarship recipient. Her voice trembled as she told the crowd how the Henderson Foundation had changed her life. She'd been raised by a single mother, almost didn't graduate high school, but received a scholarship that led her to college. That could have been me, Mia whispered, her voice thick. That was me. Noah looked at her, something in his expression softening. The next auction item was a private cooking class with a celebrity chef. Opening bid, $5,000. Several hands went up. Mia laughed softly. A $5,000 cooking class? That's wild. When the bidding hit $20,000, a man at the neighboring table, Marcus Vance, a real estate tycoon, lifted his paddle. Noah's jaw tightened. $25,000, he said sharply, raising his paddle. Mia turned to him. Noah, you don't need to. $30,000, Marcus called. Noah looked at Marcus, then back at Mia. $40,000. Her hand rested gently on his arm. This is too much. It's just a cooking class. But he wasn't bidding on a class. He was responding to Marcus. The way the man had looked at Mia, smiled at her, lingered too long during introductions. $50,000, Marcus said with confidence. $75,000, Noah shot back. Gasps rippled through the room. The auctioneer raised an eyebrow. Going once, going twice, sold. To Mr. Hamilton for $75,000. Applause. Noah smiled faintly. It's for a good cause. But they both knew that wasn't his only reason. As the crowd clapped, Noah glanced at Mia again. For the first time in a long while he was seeing clearly. And he didn't like what he saw in himself. This had started as a game. A cruel joke. But Mia had turned it into something else. Something real. And as he watched her now, he realized he'd never admired anyone more. But there was something nagging at him. Something dark and unspoken. And he had the sinking feeling that she knew exactly what that something was. As the orchestra returned and guests began drifting back to the dance floor, laughter and champagne filled the room again. But Noah couldn't relax. He glanced at Mia. She was smiling politely, still poised and graceful, but there was a distant look in her eyes. A guardedness that hadn't been there earlier. He leaned in and said softly, "Would you like to get some air?" Mia turned to him, surprised. "Sure." He led her through the tall French doors onto a private terrace lined with glowing lights and potted plants. The cool evening breeze brushed against their skin, and the sounds of the city hummed below. "It's beautiful up here," Mia said, walking slowly to the edge and resting her hands on the railing. The moonlight made her skin glow, and the silk of her dress shimmered like water. Noah joined her, then hesitated. "There's something I need to say," he began. "About tonight. About the invitation." She turned toward him, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "My reasons for inviting you weren't pure," he admitted. "At first it was meant to be a joke." "I know," Mia said softly. The words hit him like a punch to the chest. "You know? I heard you and your friends. I was outside your office with the quarterly reports when I heard everything." Noah stepped back, his face pale. "Mia, I'm so sorry. That was cruel. I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did," she interrupted gently but firmly. "Maybe not with malice, but with arrogance. With thoughtlessness." He didn't argue. He couldn't. She looked out at the city again. "The real question is, why did I come tonight?" she said. "Why did I let myself be humiliated?" Noah said nothing. He just watched her, letting her speak. "I came because I was tired. Tired of feeling invisible. Tired of being told I didn't belong. I wanted to prove, to you, to your friends, and maybe to myself, that I could stand in that ballroom and not flinch. And you did," he said softly. "You didn't just belong, you owned it. But at what cost?" Her voice cracked slightly. "Do you know how much this dress cost me? Everything. My entire emergency fund. I borrowed jewelry. I watched etiquette videos for days. I practiced walking in heels until my feet bled. Just so I could survive one night in your world." Noah stepped closer. "I didn't know about any of that. Or about your emergency fund. Why would you?" "Because my mom's fighting cancer. Because every penny I saved was for her medical bills. And because when you and your friends laughed at me, something inside me snapped." Noah's face twisted in guilt. "Your mom, she's sick? She's a nurse. Worked double shifts for 30 years. Now she's the one in the hospital. And I've been trying to keep everything together, work, school, her treatments. I didn't tell you because it's not your problem." He reached out. "But it is now." Mia stepped back. "No, it's not. You can't just throw money at things and fix them, Noah. You don't get to feel noble for rescuing me. That's not what I'm trying to do." "Isn't it?" she asked, voice sharp. "This entire evening started as a test I wasn't supposed to pass. You and your friends placed bets on whether I would embarrass myself. And when I didn't, you bid $75,000, what? To protect me? To prove a point? Or to show you could? The questions hung in the air like fog. Noah rubbed a hand over his face. I don't know. All I know is, I misjudged you. And I misjudged myself. There was silence between them. Then quietly he said, Can I ask you something? Mia nodded. Why did you really come tonight? After hearing what you heard? Why didn't you just stay home? She took a long breath, her eyes shining but firm. Because I needed to remind myself of something. That I'm not small. That I'm not weak. And that I get to decide what I'm worth. Not you, not your friends, not anyone. Noah stepped closer again. Then let me say this. What I saw tonight wasn't a performance. Was you. And you were extraordinary. She didn't answer right away. Then, her voice barely above a whisper, she said, Even if that's true, we both know what happens after tonight. What do you mean? You go back to your tower. Your boardrooms. Your world of tailored suits and six-figure bets. I go back to being the assistant who brings you coffee. Nothing really changes. It doesn't have to be that way. Doesn't it? She stepped away, her back straight, her eyes clear. I need to go freshen up, she said. I'll be back in a minute. And before he could say another word, she turned and disappeared through the terrace doors. Noah stood alone in the moonlight, suddenly unsure of everything. Inside the elegant lounge, Mia stood at the mirror, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, reapplying her lipstick with practiced calm. But beneath the surface, her thoughts were spinning. She had just laid herself bare to Noah Hamilton. And now she didn't know what came next. A voice broke her concentration. Well, if it isn't the star of the evening. Mia turned slowly. Vanessa Sterling. The woman glided into the lounge like she owned the air. In her shimmering silver gown, she looked every inch the polished socialite. But her eyes, sharp, calculating, carried no kindness. Mia straightened. Vanessa. I must say, Vanessa said, circling slowly, watching you play dress up with the elite has been entertaining. Mia didn't blink. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. Vanessa's smile dropped. Let's not pretend we're equals, darling. We both know what this is. A performance. A fantasy. Do we? Mia asked calmly. Vanessa stepped closer, her tone lowering to a whisper. You think this is going to last? That a man like Noah is actually going to fall for someone like you? Someone who shops clearance racks and lives in a walk-up? Mia didn't respond. Vanessa smirked. He's not interested in a real relationship with you. You're his temporary rebellion. His little charity case. A reminder to himself that he can slum it for a night and feel noble about it. Are you done? Mia asked, her voice low and steady. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Just trying to save you from heartbreak. Believe me, I know Noah. You're a phase. Mia walked past her to the sink, tossed the used tissue and turned back. You don't scare me, Vanessa. You should. Mia stepped closer. What I should do is thank you, she said. Because your arrogance reminded me that people like you are exactly why I came here tonight. Vanessa blinked, taken off guard. I'm not here for your world, Mia continued. I'm here to remind myself, and everyone in that ballroom, that I don't need to be you to be better than you. Vanessa's face darkened. We'll see. I guess we will, Mia said, offering a small, confident smile. Now if you'll excuse me, someone's waiting for me. She left the lounge without another word, head high, spine straight, her heels clicking with precision on the marble floor. She didn't see Vanessa's expression twist with frustration behind her. When she returned to the ballroom, Noah was right where she'd left him, near the terrace, scanning the crowd. His face lit up with relief when he saw her. There you are, he said, stepping forward. I was starting to worry. I'm fine, Mia said. But he could see something had shifted. Her walls were up again. Guarded. Calm but cold. Did something happen? Before she could answer, they were interrupted. Derek, Stella, Caleb, and Vanessa were all approaching, smug looks on their faces. And Mia knew what was coming. Ryan darling, Vanessa said brightly, looping her arm through his. We were just talking about the little bet. Noah's shoulders stiffened. What bet? Mia asked, already knowing. Oh, come on, Stella chimed in. You didn't really think this was all about you, did you? Mia turned to Noah. What are they talking about? But she already knew. Tell her, Caleb said, grinning. Tell her about the pool. About how we all bet on whether you'd show up, how you'd embarrass yourself. That's enough, Noah snapped. But it was too late. The words had already detonated. Conversations around the room quieted. People turned to watch. Phones came out. Mia stood still, her expression unreadable. I see, she said. No, it's not what you think, Noah said quickly. Mia, please. Let me explain. No need, she replied, voice steady. It's all quite clear now. There was a beat of silence. Then Brandon added, honestly though, you handled yourself better than expected. I mean, we thought you'd cry in the bathroom. But hey, you pulled it off. Shut up, Brandon, Noah said, his voice rising. Oh, relax, Stella added. We were just having fun. She knew what this was. And finally, Tyler, let's be honest, Noah. It was a great joke. She actually fooled a few people into thinking she belonged. That was the moment Noah snapped. You want to know the truth? He said, his voice booming now. The surrounding crowd grew quiet. Even the music seemed to dim. Yes, he said. It started as a joke. A cruel, stupid joke. I invited Mia tonight because you all thought it would be hilarious to watch her fail. Gasps echoed. Phones were lifted. Cameras rolled. But what happened instead? Noah continued. She didn't fail. She thrived. She was the most intelligent, articulate, and captivating person in this entire ballroom. He looked at Mia now. She has a master's degree. She works 2 jobs while supporting a mother battling cancer. She reads economic theory for fun. She's held conversations tonight that none of you could have handled. He turned back to the others. And you, every one of you, tried to tear her down. Not because she was unworthy, but because she made you feel small. Because she's everything you're not. He looked around at the silent crowd. I want everyone in this room to know, Mia Carter deserves your respect. And if you have a problem with that, take it up with me. The ballroom was silent. Dozens of guests stood frozen, eyes wide, phones still recording. Noah's voice still echoed faintly as he lowered the microphone. The weight of his confession, and his defense of Mia, hung in the air like thunder after a storm. Mia stood beside him, stunned. Noah turned to face her. His voice lowered, soft, trembling with something deeper than embarrassment. I'm sorry, he said. For everything. For the joke. For my friends. For not seeing you. For not respecting you. The crowd still watched, breath held, waiting for her response. Mia looked at him, really looked at him. Past the tuxedo. Past the perfect hair and expensive shoes. For the first time all night, she saw vulnerability in Noah Hamilton. And pain. Thank you, she said, her voice just loud enough for the room to hear. That was unexpected. No, he said. It was overdue. A small smile tugged at her lips, though her eyes were still stormy. You're the most remarkable woman I've ever met, Mia. And I was an idiot not to see it sooner. She paused. This doesn't change anything, she said gently. Tomorrow you go back to your life. And I go back to mine. And we'll still live in 2 different worlds. What if we didn't have to? He asked. What if we tried to build something new, together? Before she could answer, the MC hurried over, smiling brightly, unaware, or maybe fully aware, of the drama he was stepping into. Mr. Hamilton, Miss Carter, may we get a photo of the evening's most talked about couple? That donation, the speech, it's going viral already. Mia hesitated. Noah looked at her. Gave her a choice. She could walk away now. Return to her quiet apartment. Her routine. Her plan. One photo, she said at last, slipping her arm into his. The photographers positioned them in front of the Henderson Foundation banner. Flashes erupted. The crowd leaned in. Her emerald gown gleamed. His arm gently touched the small of her back. Just before the camera clicked, Noah leaned down and whispered, Whatever happens next, you changed me tonight. She looked up at him. This time her smile was real. We'll see, she whispered back. Click. The photo would appear in magazines, on Instagram, across social media, labeled everything from Cinderella in silk, to the gala girl who silenced Manhattan. But none of that mattered to Mia. Because for her and Noah, the real story had just begun. 3 months later. Mia sat behind her new desk on the 42nd floor of Hamilton Innovations. The skyline of the city glimmered outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, unchanged. But everything else was different. She was no longer an assistant. The nameplate on her desk read, Mia Carter, Director of Social Impact Initiatives. The work was challenging, demanding, meaningful. She had launched an education program in 3 underserved districts, secured partnerships with major nonprofits, and created job mentorships for students in need. And she had done it all while completing her MBA and caring for her recovering mother, who was now officially in remission. The viral speech at the gala had changed public perception, but Mia's work had earned their respect. There were still whispers. Some people wondered if she had slept her way to the top. Business blogs speculated. A few colleagues kept their distance. But her results spoke louder than gossip. That afternoon, a familiar knock came at her door. Noah entered carrying 2 coffees. "Still bringing me coffee?" Mia teased, taking the cup. "Old habits die hard." He sat across from her, watching her with that same quiet awe he hadn't quite shaken since the night of the gala. "I just got word," he said. "The Henderson Foundation approved full funding for our scholarship program. 50 new students next year." "That's incredible," Mia said. "Thank you." "No," he replied. "Thank you." They sat in silence a moment. "You nervous about the board meeting today?" she asked. "More than I've ever been. Mr. Billion-dollar acquisition gets nervous?" "This one's different," Noah said. "This is personal." The board meeting that afternoon would determine whether they could continue working together, professionally and personally. The company had policies. The press was watching. Mia reached across the desk and took his hand. "Whatever happens, we'll figure it out." He squeezed her fingers. Together. The boardroom on the 44th floor was silent, tense. 12 directors of Hamilton Innovation sat around the long glass table, their expressions a mix of skepticism, professionalism, and tightly masked curiosity. At the head sat William Fraser, the 72-year-old board chair, known for his no-nonsense demeanor. Noah and Mia entered together, poised but calm. The moment they sat, the meeting began. "Thank you all for being here," Fraser said, adjusting his glasses. "We're here to discuss an issue that has drawn both internal and public attention: Mr. Hamilton's personal relationship with director Mia Carter." Murmurs. Fraser continued, "Let me be clear. Ms. Carter's performance in her role has been exceptional. That is not under question. But the optics of this relationship and the precedent it sets are." Mia sat forward, her tone respectful but confident. "Mr. Fraser, if I may." The board turned. "I understand your concerns. This situation is unusual and your hesitations are valid. That's why I've come with a proposal." She stood and walked to the screen at the front of the room. With a tap, her presentation appeared. "Carter Impact Partners, a social innovation subsidiary. I propose taking a formal leave of absence from Hamilton Innovations," she said, "to pursue my MBA full-time while simultaneously launching a new, independent subsidiary focused exclusively on social impact investment." Eyebrows rose. This new venture would be legally distinct. It would have its own board, its own funding, and I would serve as CEO. Mr. Hamilton would recuse himself entirely from operational decisions and funding approvals. Fraser sat back, stunned. "This is unexpected. I've already secured preliminary funding from 3 foundations and 2 venture partners," Mia continued. "An initial investment from Hamilton Innovations, evaluated strictly on merit, would complete our seed round." She clicked through her slides. Projected ROI, educational outreach plans, partnerships with public schools, mentorships, measurable KPIs. The board members listened. Really listened. Then, unexpectedly, Noah stood up beside her. "I'd like to make an amendment," he said. "I believe this subsidiary should belong entirely to Mia Carter. Hamilton Innovations can remain a strategic investor, but this should be her company, her vision, her legacy." The room was silent again. Fraser cleared his throat. "Miss Carter, you've been working on this quietly?" "For the last month," Mia replied. "I knew that if we were going to make this work, professionally or personally, it had to be clean, transparent, and earned." Board member Janice Moore, one of the company's longest-serving members, finally spoke. "This is brilliant. It addresses every concern we had while opening doors to something innovative. I move that we support this proposal." "I second," said Robert Kim, nodding. Fraser looked around the room. "No objections. The motion carries." Mia exhaled. She had done it. As the board filed out one by one, Fraser lingered. "Miss Carter," he said, "I underestimated you. This company will miss you, but the world needs more leaders like you. Good luck." She smiled. "Thank you, sir." When the room emptied, Noah pulled her into his arms. "You amazing, brilliant woman," he whispered. "You planned this for a month and didn't tell me? I needed to know if it would stand on its own." He kissed her forehead. "It does." "You do." She leaned into him. "We're going to build something incredible. Together," he said. 6 months later. The newly renovated office in downtown Brooklyn Heights was buzzing with quiet energy. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, catching the exposed brick and modern light fixtures above. On the wall was a brushed metal plaque. Carter Impact Partners. Innovating for equity. Investing in futures. Mia stood in the middle of it all, clipboard in hand, phone tucked under her ear, directing a team preparing for the launch of their second mentorship hub. Yes, confirm the guest list for the media preview. And make sure the scholarship recipients have transportation arranged, she said, then paused to smile at a nervous intern walking past. You've got this. The office was everything she dreamed of. Purposeful, focused, human. The pilot programs had exceeded expectations. 3 public schools had already reported increased student engagement. Internship partnerships were rolling in. More importantly, parents were calling, crying, grateful. It was working. She hung up the phone and turned, just as Noah walked in, holding a bottle of champagne and a familiar smirk. I come bearing news, he announced. She grinned. Let me guess. Another foundation doubled their commitment. Close. The Henderson Foundation just approved an additional $2 million for our education pipeline. Mia's jaw dropped. $2 million. And, he added, Senator Ellis wants to feature our work in his upcoming education reform bill. She blinked, speechless. Okay, now you may pour the champagne. He opened the bottle, poured 2 glasses and raised his. To the girl who turned a cruel joke into a global movement. They clinked glasses. But that's not all, Noah said, setting his glass down. I have one more surprise. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. Mia froze. Noah. He dropped to one knee, right in the middle of her empty office. Mia Carter, he said, his voice rich with emotion. You've changed my life. You've taught me what real love, real work, and real partnership look like. She blinked fast, trying to hold back tears. You made me better. You made me see people. You made me see myself. And I want to build everything with you. A business, a life, a family, a future. Together. So. He opened the box. Inside was a simple, elegant ring, classic, timeless, just like her. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down Mia's cheeks. Yes, she whispered. Then louder, yes. Of course, yes. He stood, slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her. Softly. Reverently. And as they held each other in the center of the company she built with her own brilliance, Mia thought about how far she'd come. She remembered the marble hallways where she once overheard her name being used as a joke. She remembered walking into the gala terrified, in a borrowed dress and heels that hurt. She remembered proving them all wrong. And now, this was her life. Her company. Her story. Not just a love story. A victory. A transformation. And it all began with a moment of cruelty. That became a reason to rise. That became love.